misconception about A&Rs?
That we know what we're doing. I don't think a lot of us know what we're doing, man. I think that that's my experience, and that's real. I don't know. I just think an A&R in 2014 is different than the A&Rs that I used to look on back of the albums and see, because a lot of the A&Rs were ex-musicians and could read scales and knew, music to be able to communicate with the musician or the artist. Once again, I got performing when I was high school hustling, but I learned music theory, I learned chords, I learned transitions, time signatures, everything. So I don't even use that as much anymore as I would think I would use it until I come across an artist who's real musical and say, hey, and they get surprised. Sometimes it's just relationships. You got A&R that are A&R relationship people. They just know people and people like them, and they can kind of get the product done because people like them, and they can kind of talk to the artist to get it. That don't mean they're creative. They just able to make the relationships happen. You got creative A&Rs. I consider myself creative A&R. Creative A&R is to be able to see a diamond in the rough, probably coming from management, and I'm able to say, when everybody in the room look at it and be like, I don't know if they're a star right away or the music is quite right. I always was able to see the diamond in the rough when everybody kind of looked at the obvious. Oh, they look good and they sound like this. And I'd be like, but that's too perfect. Even though that seemed easier, the perfect people usually are the hardest to break. It's always the person, that person who people didn't really believe and they had to work a little harder. That's more. And then what happens, they're more relatable to the average public. Because let's just be real. Everybody walking down the street don't look like Beyonce. And Beyonce didn't look like Beyonce at the beginning. But somebody had to see that that's what it could be. You know what I mean? And that to me is the creative managers. It's crazy. And if I had to name a few, I could probably name Peter Edge at J Records. I think it's definitely proven to be a creative manager. I think Mark Pitts is a creative manager, absolutely, with, the stuff that he's helped develop or bring artists to the next level. Oh man, who's the guy who did Keisha Cole? He was at, he did Mary Biggest album, The Breakthrough. I can't think of his name, but he was at Geffen. I can't think of his name right now. I should be shot for that, but he's great. I think L.A. Reid is a creative manager. I think he's a good businessman, but I think he's able to see those diamonds in the roughs and able to sit there and say what songs and what vibes and what it should look like or know when it's right to kind of piece it together. The relationship A&R might not have a long run because after a while, see, the problem is that every artist, if you're a relationship A&R, right? Every artist goes through a creative meltdown in their career. You might have 3 albums that's a great run, right? Then they got to grow and evolve. If you're not a creative manager, you don't know how to tell them to evolve, then it's going to be problems. So that's where it kind of differs at. Creative managers last longer, point blank.